It's all good. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tap Into Your G. And I am G. And whether you tap in every week or this is your first time, which I think everybody that's here today has already been here, I really appreciate y'all being here. As you probably know, GEE stands for Gratitude, Emotion, and Elevation. And here we use all three to help us shift our perspective, understand what's happening within us, and to make choices that support who we are and what we're creating. So, you can join the conversation or just listen. But today I want to do something a little different. Before we begin, I just want everybody to just take one deep breath, please. Just breathe in and release. Release whatever happened before you logged on to the Zoom tonight or whatever might be waiting for you afterwards, and just give yourself permission to be present. Okay. So tonight we are talking about trust. We're talking about trust. And not the kind that comes easily when everything's working and you have all this evidence right in front of you. I want to talk to you about the trust that you need before the proof of the thing actually arrives, right? So let me ask y'all this. Have you ever known something before you could explain how you knew it? Like you couldn't prove it, you didn't have all the details, you might not have any physical evidence of it, but something within you felt very clear that this thing is happening, right? So if you can relate to that, you can give me a yes in the chat. If your camera's off, nod your head. If you know what I'm saying, if I could see your face, where you just know, right? It's just like nobody can tell me. I don't know. I just know, right? Yes, thank you. Okay, I see y'all acknowledging. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so most of us know what it feels like to know something before you actually have proof, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Because how long are you willing to trust that knowing when the proof doesn't follow immediately after you have that feeling of knowing? Right? Because sometimes the feeling is clear, right? The vision feels real, the desire feels aligned, but then nothing happens, right? Time passes, circumstances don't change, everything look the same. That evidence starts getting quiet, right? And suddenly you start to question what once felt so clear, like that thing that you just knew, right? So tonight we're talking about trust before the proof arrives. So the question I want us to sit with tonight is, can you trust what you know when the evidence gets quiet? And when the evidence gets quiet, a lot of us do something very familiar. What do? We look for somebody else to confirm what we know, right? Think about that person you call when you're not sure what to do, right? The person that's going to say, no, you're not imagining that. Or like, yeah, I think that's a great idea. You should just do it, right? And then suddenly you feel better. Devontae said it's me. I know it's me for Devontae. But Devontae, I think you have a couple other people that you are able to like bounce things off of, right? So it's like it's nothing wrong with having those people, right, that you trust in your life. We all need somebody to help offer wisdom, sometimes help us see what we might not be able to see for ourselves. But how many times have you called somebody for advice and you already knew the answer, right? You wasn't calling them because you didn't know. You were calling them sometimes because you trusted their knowing more than you trust your own knowing. Like some people be like, "Oh, my mother knows best. Let me just run it by mama." Or call G if you're Devontae, right? He don't call me for every decision, obviously, but it's like you need that other person to confirm something that you already had within you. You know what I'm saying? That you already know. So we can trust another person's judgment and perspective, but when our own intuition speaks, now all of a sudden we need witnesses and supporting documentation and three forms of identification. Like you're not trusting yourself, you know? We give other people the benefit of the doubt, but you put what you know on trial, right? So, and for parents, and every most of the people on here have children, right? So it's like we've seen this play out raising kids, right? You could tell your child something 50, 11 times. I said 50, 11. And it goes in one ear and out the other, right? Let the teacher say it. Let that bald head teacher at the school say the exact same thing one time, right? They come home so excited, like they just discovered the miraculous discovery of life, right? Busting in the door like, "Ah, did you know?" Yeah, I knew. Because guess what? I'm the one who told your damn teacher about it. That's how I knew. Now, but seriously, it's like the teacher knows or the teacher said it, so that made it different. The information didn't change, but the source changed, right? And kids do it with the teacher, but we do it as adults too, right? Sometimes you already felt the answer within yourself more than once, but it just doesn't feel valid until a friend, a coach, a therapist, somebody's podcast co-signs it for you, right? Then you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. But you was already thinking that. You already felt it. You already knew it, right? So your intuition is sitting there like, yeah, that's what I've been telling you this whole time. So tonight it's not about never listening to anybody else, right? Because other people can offer valuable wisdom, perspective, confirmation. But there's a difference between seeking perspective and asking somebody else for permission to trust what you already know, right? So, throughout tonight's conversation, I want you to consider, is this new information or did the teacher just say it, right? So, let's talk about first what trust actually is. So sometimes we call something trust, but really it's verification. So if I say, show me that this thing is working and then I'll believe it, that's not trust. That's confirmation. If I say, let's see how this turns out first and then I'll decide whether I believe, I'm on the right track, that's not trust either. That's just waiting for the outcome to make the decision for me. Verification says, I have the evidence, so now I believe. But trust says, I may not have all the evidence yet, but I'm willing to remain connected to what I know, right? And to be clear, verification isn't bad, right? We need verification. Please verify that the money is in your account before you start swiping your card, okay? Please verify that the person you met 3 days ago is actually who they say they are before you give them a key to your house, right? We're not using trust as an excuse to abandon wisdom and facts or common sense. So, trusting yourself doesn't mean believing every thought that passes through your mind because every thought is not intuition, right? Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's a old belief passed down by mom and them. Sometimes it's anxiety. Sometimes you're hungry and you need to eat before making any major life decisions. Like you just hangry and deciding all type of wrong stuff because somebody need to feed you, right? But there are moments when something within you feels clear and you don't have it all figured out. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You might not be able to explain it in a way that makes sense to anybody, but you just know, right? And that knowing is where trust begins. Proof may eventually confirm what you know, but proof cannot always be the thing that gives you permission to know it. So let me ask you, if have you ever gone to somebody for advice and while you're explaining the situation, I do this all the time, you realize you already know the answer, right? Maybe they didn't even say nothing. You just heard yourself talking and thought, oh, I already know what I need to do, right? Give me a yes if you've ever experienced that in the chat, right? You ever been in the middle of asking somebody for advice and cut yourself off to say, no, I already know what to do, you know? Why am I asking you? Why do I need a confirmation from you? Like, what is this for? Who are you? Who the hell are you? Yeah. So, yeah, I see in the chat. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So, your answer, while you asking this person for confirmation of something you already know, the answer didn't suddenly appear while you're saying it to this person. It was already within you, right? Saying it out loud, talking to somebody simply helped you hear it more clearly. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes another person gives us the space to process what we already feel. The question is, are you seeking perspective or are you seeking permission? Perspective says, help me see what I might be missing. Permission says, tell me I'm allowed to trust what I already know. Those aren't the same thing, right? And that's one reason why trusting yourself can feel difficult, right? Because now, if I give Devontae advice and it turned out to be wrong, he could say, well, G told me to do it. Now the blame is on me, right? But when we trust ourselves, we feel responsible for the outcome. There's nobody else to blame, right? So sometimes what looks like a lack of trust for ourselves is really a fear of being wrong. Because if I trust myself and I'm wrong, then what does that say about me? You know what that says about you? It says you're human, right? Trusting yourself doesn't mean that you're going to get every feeling right. It's going to be perfect. You're going to make all the right decisions or you won't ever change your mind. Trusting yourself means knowing that even if you make a decision and later you get new information, you can just adjust. You can listen. You can choose again. You don't have to predict the entire future correctly in order to trust yourself right now in this moment, right? That's important because sometimes we think trust means I know exactly what's going to happen. But trust can also sound like I don't know exactly how this is going to unfold, but I trust myself to recognize the next step. I trust myself to pay attention. I trust myself to respond when I receive new information. I trust that I don't need to have the entire path before I take the step that is clear right now. That's trust. Trust is not the absence of questions, it's not the absence of doubt. Trust is deciding that doubt does not get the final vote. Because when you know, you know, you know? So it's one thing to trust what you know when somebody else confirms it, right? The teacher said it, the friend agreed, the opportunity appeared. Because now, once somebody else says it, like when the kids get excited because the teacher said it, you can point to that evidence and say, see, I knew it, right? But what happens when the teacher doesn't say it? Or what happens when the teacher says something completely different? What happens when something within you says yes, but everything that you see in your current reality is saying no? You believe the opportunity is coming, but guess what? The door closes instead. You believe your financial situation is improving, but guess what? Another unexpected bill arrives. You might feel clear about where you're going, but your circumstances seem to be moving in the opposite direction, right? So that's where the trust gets tricky because you still know, right? You didn't stop knowing, but now you got two different sources of information and they're competing for your attention, right? So what you feel on the inside, which is the knowing, and then what you can see around you on the outside, which is the unexpected bill, the confusion, right? And what you can see on the outside is loud because your current circumstance, the reality, your 3D existence, it comes with receipts, right? You got dates, balances, past due bills, emails, rejection letters, screenshots. And your inner knowing might simply just be saying, keep going, right? Meanwhile, your circumstances, your current reality prepared a whole PowerPoint presentation telling you why you should just give up and walk away right now. So this is where we have to be careful because the evidence may tell us what happened, but often we use it to create a conclusion about what's going to happen next, right? Somebody might give you some new information, another opinion, a prediction. But before you automatically accept it, ask yourself, is this new information or did the teacher just say it? And then ask, is this what happened or is this what I made it mean, right? So I want to practice with y'all separating those two things, right? So we're going to use the chat for this interaction. So I'm going to read a few statements, right? And in the chat, I want you to type the letter H as in Henry if the statement describes what happened, right? or M as in Mary if it describes what we made it mean, right? All right, so H, if this is what happened, M, if this is what you made it mean. Okay, so the first statement is, I haven't received a response yet. Is that an H for something that really happened or M for what we made it mean? If you haven't received a response yet. Okay. Good, good, good. Everybody said H, right? Correct, correct. Because that's what happened. Next statement. They must not be interested in me. So H if that's what happened, M if that's what you made it mean. They must not be interested in me. Nice. M, of course, right? That's what we made it mean. Okay, next one. The opportunity didn't work out. Is that what happened or is that what we made it to mean? Yes. All right. Mama, you saying my like that's what I'm gonna go with the my was supposed to be a H. Got it. All right. Nothing ever works out for me. Next statement. Nothing ever works out for me. Nothing ever works out for me. Nice. Nice. Of course, an M, because you know, that's what you made that mean. Next statement. The money I need isn't in my account today. The money I need isn't in my account today. Is that what happened or is that what you made it mean? All right. I'm seeing that's what happened in the chat. Good, good, good. All right. I'm never going to have enough. I'm never going to have enough. Good. Y'all understand how this works. So my plan has been delayed. My plan has been delayed. Okay, we got some mixed reviews on that one a little bit. My plan has been delayed. That's what happened, right? We don't know why it happened, but that's what happened. We're not making that part up, right? So this delay means it isn't going to happen. This delay means it isn't going to happen. Is that what happened or what we made it mean? This delay means it isn't going to happen. Great. I'm proud of you guys. But see how quickly we did that, right? Something happens, and before the situation has even finished unfolding, your fear will produce, and direct the entire ending, right? The contradiction might be real, the delay may be real, the rejection may be real, the current circumstances may be real. But the meaning you attach to it is not always the truth, right? Sometimes what challenges your trust isn't only what happened, it's the story you immediately told yourself about what it means. Trust creates space between those two things, right? It allows you to say, this is what happened, but I don't have to decide that it means everything that I feared that it means because this happened, right? But that contradiction can sometimes get loud. And I've experienced this in my own life. And I know you guys have heard these stories about like how I manifested the car, but it's a good example, not to tell the whole story again. But before I got the new car that I was calling in, I was driving a 1998 Ford Taurus that kept breaking down. I had bad credit. I was a single parent. I did not have all the practical evidence showing me how I was going to get that car that I wanted, but I believed that car was coming, right? And every time the Taurus had another problem, I had a choice to make. Was I going to allow what was breaking down in front of me to become proof that what I believed wasn't possible? Because that's what contradiction will try to do, right? It'll take one current circumstance and present it as evidence against your entire vision. But every breakdown was evidence that the old car was breaking down. That was it. It wasn't proof that the new car wasn't coming. That distinction mattered because my current circumstances were real. The car was unreliable. The problems were inconvenient. The frustration was very, very real. I didn't have to pretend the car was running beautifully in order to trust that something different was possible. I could acknowledge what was happening and still refuse to take it, to call it as final, you know? And I'm not going to act like I never had doubt. Of course I did. There were moments, it just became hard to hold on to the vision because what was happening on the outside was so loud. But trust didn't require me to never question it. Trust just required me to keep returning to what I knew, right? I knew that I had that car coming in. And that's something I want us to understand tonight. Trust isn't always just one powerful decision you make and then just leave it alone and never revisit it, right? Sometimes trust is a decision you have to make every single day when you wake up, every morning, right? Sometimes you make it after the rejection. Then you make it again after the delay. Then when the unexpected bill comes, you make it again, right? Again when the plans change. Again when you see something that doesn't resemble what you're creating. You don't necessarily just choose trust once. Sometimes you got to just keep choosing it until the evidence catches up, right? So now I want us to think about trust like a traffic light, right? Think about something that you're trusting right now. Something that you just know. Like I know this thing is coming in. I feel it. Like we talked about, sometimes something is, you just know without all the evidence, you just know. You believe it, you know it. You don't have to share what it is. I mean, you can if you would like, but you don't have to, right? So we're gonna do a quick, we'll call this like the trust traffic light, right? It's not about being positive or spiritual. It's just we want to notice your current relationship with what you're creating when that proof still didn't show up yet, right? So in the chat, please type the word green if you feel grounded. Now, remember, we're thinking about that thing that you just know, that you're calling in, that's working out for you, even though you can't see it. So if you feel grounded, so you might not know how everything's going to happen, but you still trust what you know. That's green. Okay. So type yellow if you still believe, the thing that you know, but something you've seen, heard, or experienced caused you to doubt a little bit, and your doubt is wobbling. And then you would be red if you're struggling to access trust at all, right? Where your current circumstances are just loud. And right now you need proof, receipts, two witnesses, a notarized letter from the universe, and all of that. So green is grounded. The yellow is that you still believe, but you have a little doubt and you might be starting to wobble. And then red is that you just struggling. You don't trust at all. You just like, this thing is not working out. It's not going to happen. So I see some greens. So everybody's green that put something in the chat. Anybody else want to add to the chat? All right. Okay, greens. Are y'all just saying that because y'all in here with me? I can only see two faces and Ivory over there typing like I can't figure this out.
No, no. So
Uh,
what I don't wanna take you off track for
oh,
what,
go ahead. Come on, we here. It's a
but
conversation.
when you said you don't want it to be spiritual,
Oh no, it don't have to be. I'm saying you don't have to feel like you have to be.
'cause let me just say this: whenever I'm solid on something of great importance, that's like God is guiding me.
Mm,
And so that's that when you said that, it totally threw me off. If we just talking about if I should go to the grocery store or go skating, we ain't talking about that. But of something of real live importance, it when I feel locked in, it's because Like I've already been instructed by God what I'm supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. I understand. Yes, I do.
I'm kind of
No, no. All I said is that this is basically this is not about how spiritual you are. We just looking
oh,
at red, yellow, green. So that's all. Sorry if misspoke. But
that's
yeah,
uh,
no.
thank you.
Creative wine, you saying no that y'all not just saying green because y'all in here with me. I know it. It's okay. Teacher, the teacher said yellow. Okay. Thank y'all for participating and putting in the colors. I'm like the letters, the numbers. What is it? It's a color, right? Um, so this is, thank you, for putting it in, and it's not about which one you choose, right? It's not about pretending that you're on green when really you sitting at a red light. You have to recognize where you are before you can determine what you need, right? If you on green, then protect your trust. A lot of y'all said that y'all were on green. That doesn't mean to sit back and do nothing. Just keep taking the actions that feel aligned, right? But resist the urge to constantly dig up what you planted just to check whether it's growing. You don't need to interrogate your belief every morning, right? If you are on yellow, um, you got to ask yourself what changed. Because usually we start at green, right? Because we know. So now, if you're on yellow, what changed? Did you receive some information that genuinely requires you to reconsider? Or did the delay, silence, or discomfort make the fear louder than what you originally knew? Right? So now you got to return to that moment where that lack of clarity came in and ask yourself, do I no longer believe this or am I simply uncomfortable because it's taking so long to show up? Right? Because you could change your mind too. Like, wait, I thought that was going to be, but no. Um, but that question can help you determine whether you're being redirected or whether your trust is just being challenged. Right? So if you're on red, okay, yeah, I see a couple people changed it to yellow. I don't think we saw any reds in the chat, but you could get there, you know what I'm saying? So if you're on red, don't try to force yourself to go all the way to green, right? You don't have to stand there like, I believe, I believe, I believe, when every part of you is saying, like, we don't believe this shit at all, right? Start with the willingness. Instead of forcing yourself to say, I know everything is going to work out exactly the way I want, maybe you can try, I'm willing to believe that what I see right now might not be the whole story. I may not know what happens next, but I trust myself to recognize the next step. And when you think about it, that's really all you got anyway, is the next step. That's all you can do is what comes next. Sometimes rebuilding trust with yourself begins with one small opening, right? You don't have to see the entire road. You only need enough trust to take the next aligned step. So wherever your light
Baby,
is,
you preaching tonight.
amen. Amen.
I was
Ivory,
I was getting ready to say, let the church say amen.
I know you always say it's church. Thank you. This is good. I'm glad this is aligned. Um, so whatever color your light is on, honor it, right? Because green doesn't mean that you're not going to have doubts. Yellow doesn't mean you've lost your way. And red doesn't mean it's over. That's just a gauge to tell you where you are and what kind of support your trust needs right now, right? So let's talk a little bit about how GEE, because we're here to do gratitude, emotion, and elevation. Like, how can we use that to support trust, right? So now that you identify where your trust is, the next question is, how do you support it, right? Because if I just tell y'all, oh, just trust it, that's not helpful, right? If you're sitting at a red light and somebody says, oh, you just need to trust the process, you're going to be like, I'm going to tell you where you could put the process, right? Because trust sometimes needs support. And this is where we can tap into our GEE, right? So gratitude supports trust by helping you remember, right? When the evidence is not showing up or gets quiet, fear is going to definitely try to convince you that nothing has ever worked out for you ever, right? But gratitude is going to say, wait a minute, that's not true, right? You made it through uncertainty before. You received answers before. You found a way before. You've been supported in ways you couldn't predict before. You've made decisions without knowing every detail and discovered, guess what? You can handle what come next because you did it. Gratitude doesn't require you to pretend that everything is perfect right now, but it helps you remember the current uncertainty is not the only evidence that's available to you. Fear only wants to present evidence from today. But guess what? Gratitude allows you to review your history, right? You think of one situation you once worried about that it would never work out, right? You didn't know how it was going to be resolved. You didn't have all the answers, but somehow you moved through it. You here, you made it, you learned something, right? You discovered strength, help, or a possibility, something that you couldn't see in advance, right? If anybody wants to share that thing, please do, but no pressure, right? But if you have, experienced those things where you made it through, right? Put a purple heart in the chat, you know?
So I'll say something.
Yeah,
I don't know how quick I could make this, but
no
so
worries. You got time.
okay, so the state of New York once had where children could just receive a religious exemption and not be vaccinated. Then in 2019, they changed that law where all the kids to go to school, private, public, or parochial schools, you had, which is all the schools, you had to be vaccinated or you couldn't receive education in the state of New York, right? Which means you had to be homeschooled. So my same reasons for not vaccinating my kids past, they're fully vaccinated up until 15 months of age. The same reason why I stopped vaccinating them is the same reason why I couldn't go to vaccinate them just to be schooled. And I end up seventh and eighth grade, I end up homeschooling them, not knowing how I would do it, not knowing a whole lot of things. But and it was very scary, but I had been instructed by God not to vaccinate them, and I didn't. And then move that, fast forward, now we have COVID that came right behind that, right? Now my job is in jeopardy. So I've never been vaccinated as an adult. Once I had jurisdiction over myself, I never been vaccinated. And so I was able to keep my job, and my story and everything I built was on the support of not vaccinating my kids. So
Mm.
and I just want to add to what you're saying to the trust thing. You could be doing everything the way you're supposed to do it, and it still don't mean it's gonna be easy once you get the result, once you get the outcome. It was it for me, it was easy. Like to lose your job meant I was gonna have to leave New York, maybe go to Georgia where my children had moved. Um, it was just a big thing. But I think the base of me not caving and vaccinating them gave me the reward for being able to keep my job. And in the state of Georgia, they're not as heavy duty in terms of focusing on vaccines. You get what I'm saying, for the kids. So down there, New York, I had, even to get them to go to school and get a religious exemption is a whole lot more than what Georgia had. Georgia's just filling out a paper. I had
Mm.
to build a whole case and was denied and had to go up for the appeal, and then they changed the law. But so even, once they changed the law, it's still difficult homeschooling somebody
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine
or
that.
three people. But what I can say is when they moved to Georgia, Ninth grade, one of them, his first card marking, he got straight A's, right?
Yeah.
Which let me know that they were good not being vaccinated. They still had friends. It was a lot of work to put in, but I'm glad I was obedient. I'm glad I was able to weather the storm.
That's a great example because it's like you said, when you feel like it's God, that's something you definitely know. If that's your
Mhm.
belief system, then you know. And it's like it makes it easier to trust, when you have that strong faith or
Yeah.
just the knowing of like, no, but you had no idea like it was gonna help you keep your job in the future too. But you just followed that internal nudge, the intuition of like, no, this is gonna work out for them, not knowing you were setting it up to work out for yourself too and them. Obviously, you want to keep employment, taking care of your kids and stuff. So thank you. That was a great.
E- even then, you still like you said, those doubts creep in,
Oh
you know.
yeah.
But every time I would think about doing it, it's like, how do you catch up? How do you catch up? Like they wanted you to catch up. How do you catch up years of not vaccinating? Like, what does that mean
No,
with
that
their,
don't even sound safe.
Exactly. So thank you, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great experience of the evidence, right? And like she said, it wasn't evidence necessarily that everything was going to unfold exactly the way she expect, right? But evidence that, what I'm saying, you moved through something before. So this is where the gratitude, you can reach back and be like, "Hey, I got through this thing." The gratitude is going to remind you that you have a history of making your way through things working out for you, right? That you didn't know how you was going to handle it. You just trust it, right? And that gratitude for the past is sometimes the evidence you need in order to keep trusting yourself in this current situation. So the second part of GEE is emotion, right? Being honest about where you are. So emotion supports trust by helping you recognize what's happening within you, right? So this is what the trust traffic light helped us do. Emotion is your internal GPS. It gives you information about what you're experiencing, but you still have to interpret that information, right? Fear may be telling you that you feel unsafe. Impatience might be telling you that the wait has become uncomfortable. Frustration might be telling you that you're tired of not knowing, like you're ready for this thing to show up. And disappointment might be telling you that what you want matters to you. Those emotions are real, right? But they don't automatically predict the outcome. Feeling afraid doesn't necessarily mean you're on the wrong path. Feeling impatient doesn't mean nothing's happening. Feeling disappointed doesn't mean that there's nothing left to trust. Your emotion deserves to be acknowledged without automatically being appointed as the decision maker, right? So you ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not what should I be feeling? Not what would the most positive, spiritually enlightened version of me claim to feel? What do I honestly feel? It's part of trust is being honest with yourself, right? And then ask yourself, what is this feeling attempting to tell me? Maybe it's asking you to pause. Maybe it's asking you to rest. Maybe it's asking you to take action. Maybe it's just showing you that an old fear needs your attention, right? Or maybe you're just uncomfortable waiting. You can honor what you feel without allowing the feeling to decide what you trust. And the last part of the GEE framework is elevation, right? You got to choose the next trusting action. Elevation is where trust becomes a choice. It's not one big choice that solves everything, right? It's just the next choice. Like I was talking about, just the next step. Because trust is not only something that you feel, trust is something that you practice. Just like I said, every morning waking up, you got to keep trusting. You got to keep trusting until that thing shows up, right? So ask yourself, what would trusting myself look like today? Not next month, not when the money arrives, not when somebody finally responds, but today. Maybe it looked like sending an email or making a phone call, filling out the application, setting a boundary, resting instead of forcing, continuing to prepare, or choosing not to check for evidence every 15 minutes. Quick funny story about Devontae. One year he did his taxes. He kept checking to see if his money was available or accepted, approved, whatever, how you call, where's my refund, check it. And they kicked him off for the day. Like, you didn't check too many damn times. Don't come back in here till tomorrow. Don't bring your ass back in here. Devontae was like, child, they told me I can't check no more. But that's a way to show that you don't trust. You're struggling with trust if you're looking for that confirmation every few minutes, right? Maybe your elevated action is simply refusing to repeat that story that everything's falling apart.
That
'Cause it
baby
did.
is hopeful. Leave
It
him
was
alone.
very hopeful. Okay, you're right. His emotions was high. He was checking like every 10 minutes. It was probably every 10 seconds. I'm sorry, that was a lot, do I say? But I
Don't
didn't
be
even know they
lying,
could kick
G.
you.
You be lying now.
It was
You trying
every
to show
what?
out.
Did they kick you off for the day?
Mind your business.
All right. So, like Devontae,
What he say?
unlike
What did he
he,
say?
he said, mind your business. So the action, it doesn't have to be dramatic, right? With elevation. It just needs to agree with whatever it is that you said that you trust. Gratitude reminds you that you've been carried through uncertainty before. I mean, you've made it through and over so many things. Emotion helps you understand what your feelings are revealing without assuming their instructions, right? And elevation turns what you trust into the next choice you make. So now we have an experiment for this week. I don't know if y'all ever do these experiments. I think some people have done them because I've gotten some feedback. So thank y'all for whoever does get something out of these experiments. But so go back and think about the one thing you identify in that trust traffic light with the red, yellow, green, right? So that's the thing that you're trusting before you have all the proof, right? So think about it. Where's your light now? Green, yellow, red. So think about if anything shifted during tonight's conversation at all. If anybody wants to share any changes or shifts that you might have experienced, or, just something that you wanted to share along this subject line, please feel free to raise your hand if you'd like. But no
No
pressure.
pressure. I'll say something.
Okay, sure.
Um, I think what I got from this is learning how to trust your own instincts and your intuitions. I think it's very true that I think sometimes we want validation with whatever we already know. And it sucks that we don't trust our own self with our decisions, and we need to like have a cosigner like, okay, I need to make sure I'm doing this right. And even with the cosigner, it can, excuse me, can still be wrong. So,
Yeah.
and then end up doing the wrong thing when we know in our mind and our heart that our intuition was right all along instead of
Yeah.
going with the other person's decision. So, but yeah, just trusting that. And I think, even being fearful of things, still moving in that fear or still moving and taking care of things, you
Mm-hmm.
not sure with the unknown.
Yeah. It'll creep in, and then you ask people, for support that they don't even know. Like, sometimes there are people that have never even done the thing that we're like, I wonder, I should ask somebody that never did this before what I should do about it. Like, no, you probably shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's good. Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything? So what matters, right, because you come up with the thing, but is that you recognize where you are, right, with the colors. So there's no right color, and the goal is not to force yourself into green. The goal is to understand what your trust needs from you, right? So for the experiment for the next 7 days, We're gonna complete a G trust check-in before you search for more proof, and I'm gonna just paste the trust check-in in the chat real quick, but then I'll go over it. Oh no, I hope it pastes right. It don't look as nice down there. All right. All right, so we're gonna do the check-in, right? So before you check the email again or check to see did your taxes get approved for the 37th time today, before you check your bank account again, before you call your cousin Tiffany and ask her what she think you should do, pause and ask yourself, when you think of the gratitude piece, what past experience reminds me that I can trust myself even when I don't have all the answers, right? For the emotion piece, what am I honestly feeling and what is that feeling revealing? And you got to be honest with yourself about the feeling, not what you should be feeling, what you know what I'm saying. Just keep it real. It's just you. And that's the part about it. I think is just developing that relationship with yourself, with trusting you, trusting the intuition, trusting the God winks or whatever the synchronicities and things that sometimes we don't pay attention to because we're missing that bond with ourselves, right? And then as far as the elevation piece, what's one choice I can make today that supports what I trust? Maybe there's an action you can take. Maybe there's something you need to let go of. Maybe you need to rest, continue preparing, or give the situation room to unfold. Sometimes it just needs time, right? And before you look to somebody else for confirmation, ask yourself, are they giving me new information or did the teacher just say it? Right? Did I already know this and they're just telling me and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right." You knew it. The experiment is not about remaining perfectly confident for the entire week, right? It's about learning how to support your trust when it gets shaky. And at the end of the week, ask yourself, did the evidence change or did my relationship with the waiting change? Proof might not arrive this week, right? Circumstances might not change this week, but you might discover that doubt can be present without receiving the final vote, right? You might discover red doesn't mean it's over. Yellow doesn't mean you lost your way, and green doesn't mean that you'll never be shaky with it. Because trust is not something you either have or you don't, it's something you practice, right? So, before I close out, I want to know, I'm going to give one more chance if anybody wanted to say anything. But I do have an update about our next Zooms and what's happening here coming up. All right. So, there's an update to the schedule. I know I asked everybody if they prefer 7 or 8. We'll probably stick with 7. But I'm gonna be taking a break for 4 weeks actually. This break is for Ivory. I see Ivory's face like, what the beep? You on mute. I just see beep beep.
Leave.
So listen. Oh, people turn their cameras on now. Like, wait a minute now.
4
Okay,
weeks
listen.
sound like maternity leave.
It is kind of maternity leave. We're birthing something new, Ivory. I love that you said maternity leave, right? So I'll come back on September 20th. A lot of it is there's several reasons why I'm taking this break, but um I'm going on some trips. I'll be out of town. It's kind of difficult doing the Zoom call from traveling, but also I'm preparing finally to launch my podcast, right? And so during this 4 week break, everybody that's on my email list, which I think y'all are all on the email list, hopefully. If not, I put my thing in the chat. My website, it's a website, G, And then you can click it. And if you click on stay connected, if you're not already on my email list, then you can go ahead and join the list, right? So what's going to happen is everybody that's on the email list is going to receive early access to the first 4 podcast episodes before they're released. So on those 4 Sundays, I will still email you guys a link to a podcast episode that you can listen to in replace of this, so you still can have a church service that you hadn't attended yet, Ivory, on a Sunday. And then it will be at your leisure of what time works, when you decide to listen to it, right? So tomorrow, if you're on the list, you're going to get the replay from tonight, right? The link to re-listen to this if you would like to, right? I'll put the trust experiment, the instructions in there. And then next Sunday, you'll be among the first people to experience the new podcast episode each week until we come back on September 20th. So just wanted to let y'all know that. And thank you. I appreciate the love in the chat. So as we close, can't do no more. My mama in the chat. Ivory talk about maternity thinking emoji. Can't do no more grandbabies. Ma, you could do some more grandbabies, actually. You could. If you had to, you had to. What if I was one of them 63-year-old women that made it in the Guinness Book of World Records because I got pregnant? You gonna be like, oh no, don't bring that baby over here. He coming over there. All 3 of them. Now let me stop.
Well,
I
you got
rebuke that in
great.
the name of Jesus. I'm sorry.
Not only grandkids, great grandkids. I'm tired, y'all. Not only kid. Can you hear me?
Oh, I thought you was about to be like, I'm tired of kids. Oh,
No, not only kids, but great grandkids.
yes, it could be a lot of stay focused. This is how we closing this call out. I'm like, wait, how we okay, um so whenever if you feel yourself looking outside of yourself for permission to believe what you already know, please ask yourself, is this new information or did the teacher just say it? Right? Listen to wisdom, pay attention to facts, remain open to redirection. But don't overlook your own knowing simply because it didn't arrive with supporting documentation. You don't have to predict the entire future correctly in order to trust yourself today. You don't have to see the entire path. You only need to have enough trust to recognize and take the next aligned step. Proof may confirm what you know, but trust begins before the proof arrives. I want y'all to keep tapping into your G. I hope to see y'all when we come back in 4 weeks. Until then, please be happy, be grateful, be mindful, be you. Thank y'all.
God bless.
God
Bye,
bless.
Gigi.
Bye.